Ever wondered why you might not resonate or be able to relate to your horoscope predictions, but see yourself relating to your sun sign or your natal chart itself? So this is a huge misunderstanding, misconstrued part of astrology that we're gonna clear up. If you're excited to dive into why you're reading your horoscope incorrectly, but it's not really your fault, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you are always up to date with what the stars have in store for you. Hi, I'm Maren. I am a professional astrologer, current student who graduated from college as of today, so that's virtually, but that's weird. But I'm still a student because, going on for PhD and author. I combine traditional Hellenistic astrology techniques with modern psychological counseling dynamics in order to provide grounded spiritual guidance. This video is brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp offers licensed counselors available for you online who are board certified through their state. You can receive this counseling through your phone, your tablet, your computer, and even talk over text or phone call. If you go to sign up at this link, you can receive a connection with a licensed therapist in under 24 hours. BetterHelp also hosts groupinar sessions, where weekly you can meet with a group of fellow members to discuss issues and relevant topics such as relationships and anxiety. Relatable. BetterHelp is $65 a week and has financial aid packages available to those who qualify during the sign-up process. It's available worldwide, and it's a really awesome way to get the services you need, though it is not a crisis hotline. Those will be linked down below. To get started at BetterHelp, you can head over to the link down in the description that I have specifically for you all and get connected after walking through the sign-up process, which is super simple and easy, with exactly the licensed therapist who suits you and your needs based on what you're looking for and who you align with. So to get into this video, there are a few concepts I'm going to explain really clearly on how to read your horoscope and how to watch for your videocast horoscope that I need to get into some concepts before we can get to that, so stay with me here. So the astrology chart of any given moment is indicating the planets around the Earth at that time. It's a snapshot of the cosmos, and space and the planets in that space are always moving, so it's this fictional freeze frame that we take in one moment of time that never is stopping like that, but that we're using as if it was. This snapshot of the cosmos is a promise to be carried forth. The promise can be of an event, of a historical moment, or of a human life. Thus, when the snapshot is of the initiation of a human life, we call it a natal chart. It is of the native. All of one's life, including their psychology and especially externally tangentially related events of the native's life, are encompassed in the natal chart as a promise to be activated and carried forth throughout that life. And the planets in this natal chart are in different conversations with one another. These are called aspects, and they describe the energetic dynamics present both in the personality of the native and in the external circumstances that the native is placed in. These planets in the chart fall in different houses, which represents different areas of life. Side note, if you want a video on what the houses mean, what conceptually brings them into being, and why they are said to be in use of the way they are in astrology, not just what they mean, but why in the hell we even use houses, let me know. I'd love to do a video unpacking what people take for granted a lot in astrology and really getting into the nitty-gritty of the why, because anthropologizing how we know what we know is my shit, and I love making informative astrology videos. So if that's something you want, let me know down below. So taking that freeze frame of the natal chart, we can also superimpose the current sky or the upcoming sky, the sky at any other moment, to see how the energetic dynamics of right now or whatever moment we want to interact with that natal chart. And this is seen in a bi-wheel where we have two. So then instead of looking at the planets in conversation with just one of the charts, we're looking at the planets in one chart in conversation with the other chart, as indicated by, I have it demonstrated in aspect lines, though usually I just take the aspect lines away because I can see it myself and I just prefer how it looks without it. But as you can see, the different aspects and conversations are indicated by the different lines. And as a side note, all transits and all the aspects of the transits have to be taken into context with what the root natal chart is saying, because not every transit is going to indicate something that actually happens. The root natal chart contains the context for all activations, so the transits can be like a cherry on top of like confirmation, but you're never going to win the lottery if a really good financial transit comes, but your natal chart doesn't indicate that, you know what I mean? That's another conceptual caveat. If you want a video on that, even let me know. So as you can see, even the transiting planets are falling in a particular house in the natal chart. So to recap, we're looking at planets in the chart as energetic indicators in signs of lenses or backdrops in houses, which are the areas of life. So when we see planets in the sky as, in the current sky, as indicators of activations here and now of that. So the way that we're looking at the current planets transiting is what energy that planet is meaning in an area of life represented by the house in the natal chart, so that transiting planets fall in particular areas of life, indicating energies occurring in particular areas of your life. And in the natal chart itself, the houses are always set up and determined based on the rising sign. If you only think that you are a sun sign and you're newer to astrology and don't really realize that you are symbolized by an entire natal chart, go to astro.com and pull up your entire natal chart in whole sign houses. Whole sign houses, please pull your chart up in whole sign houses. It'll just make things a lot more easier and a lot more conceptually sound. But basically, what the rising sign is it was the constellation rising over the eastern horizon at your time of birth. It is called the ascendant because it was the sign that was ascending, and it represents, you know, the moment at which you took your first breath, that sign that was rising over the eastern horizon. The rising sign of every chart, whether it is of a human life or a worldly event, symbolizes the entrance into that event and therefore the most direct focus of it. So that even though your chart is symbolizing mostly external people and circumstances, the rising sign and the first house that it falls in are directly related to you. And therefore, it is the most personal point in the chart. The rising sign is the most directly reflective point about you. The sign of the rising and the ascendant describe your identity, your physical body, the flavor of your persona in the world. I can't reiterate this enough, but it is not a mask or shallow. It's literally you when a lot of your chart is not indicating you. Like the sun, the planet of, or not the planet, but the sun showing up in your chart is not so much you as much as it is the career-based role or hero that you're playing out. It's kind of like the worldly career-based shoes you might be stepping into and therefore what you're known for being. If you want a full difference breakdown on like the big three, sun, moon, rising, that you want me to get into, let me know also down below, because that is something that I think would be really useful for people where there's this misconception and confabulation that the rising sign is a mask, when like no, it's you. Yeah, it's not even just like your outer shell that you get to know before you get to know the real you. Like no, it's you. And like I said, the rising sign is setting up the 12 houses in the chart. Western astrology that I'm practicing and that a lot of us are familiar with is ascendant based, also called horoscopic. We are literally looking at a chart indicating areas of life to be specifically activated, all based upon that rising sign. And it's why astrologers reiterate time and time again that the rising sign is the most important part of the natal chart. It's because that small change of the rising sign will throw off the entire rest of the chart. It's the first domino, it's the foundation. And it's not that it's important because it's more valuable necessarily, but because it's more foundational to the integrity of the way that the chart is made up and therefore symbolic of your entire life, particularly in terms of the houses and areas of life activated. Therefore, you should always be reading or watching horoscope forecasts based on your rising sign. This has nothing to do with whether or not you resonate with the stereotypes of your rising sign or whether you have a really uniquely aspected rising degree or anything like that. This is simply because conceptually and theoretically, we're looking at the chart, the ascendant is setting up the way that the houses fall and therefore the areas of life that are activated and the dictation of transits to fall in those areas of life. So when astrologers are writing horoscopes, whether or not they even realize it, since there's varying degrees of proficiency and awareness around horoscope writers, they're writing about planets transiting through houses. And it's irrelevant, like I said, what planets or signs you most identify with in your chart. Conceptually, transits manifest in real life according to what your rising sign is. So you don't really need to waste your time reading your sun or moon. Watch for your rising sign. And that's something that I definitely differ with some astrologers who say, you know, read for your sun for this and moon for that. But frankly, the more disconnected we get from what can actually be demonstrated, I find the more muddy, more diluted, and more, frankly, meaningless astrology becomes. Because sure, you can say something like, look at moon-based horoscopes for a certain technique, but like the more disconnected we just get from looking at literally what is the most simple, parsimonious, logical way of looking at things, I just find the more hard-reaching it is to justify astrology's validity, frankly, as a valid phenomenon. So some astrologers, you know, they'll say that they're doing solar houses, where they're basing it on your sun sign and houses from the sun, or that you should read for your sun, like for your ego, and moon for your emotions, or like frankly, like I said, I just think it's a lot of distorted kind of bullshit. Not that they're playing, not that they're bullshitting you, but that when you get to the basis of what horoscopic astrology is, it is based on the ascendant. Horoscopic, horoscopos, the Greek word, literally refers to the ascendant. So like read for what's going to show up most literally based on what astrology is conceptually founded in. Just this weirdness around reading multiple horoscopes and like muddying, making everything. I just think it becomes ontologically bloated. And I'm not going to say it's wrong for you to read or watch for your sun or your moon. I'm just going to say that conceptually the idea of what transits mean is based on the rising signs. So I don't recommend you watch my forecast for your sun or your moon, because like I just don't, that's just like far reaching, like I'm saying. So long story short, like, sorry if this is totally too long, didn't read, I'm probably going to put this timestamp below because my watch time is already kind of going to shit, I'm sure. Horoscopes must be understood based around the rising sign. That's for conceptual reasons. So I recommend that you stop reading for your sun sign. I recommend that it likely isn't even manifesting accurately, is it? Like maybe you can vibe with it, but like it's not really showing up or useful. So whether or not astrologers even know that they're doing it, when they write horoscopes, they're writing on a concept that is inherently horoscopic, aka ascendant based. Like the word horoscope is derived from the ascendant concept. So it's why I'm very clear in my own forecasts about being based on rising sign, because if I'm going to be accurate in what I predict, I want to make sure that everyone is on the same page around which one they're watching, and frankly, I'm just like blunt. And sun sign horoscope columns in the first place began popping up in the early 20th century after hundreds of years of an astrological recession where so many foundational concepts, particularly of the horoscopic Greek tradition, were lost. So the pop culture novelty with astrology as a psychological sun sign based like fun thing is so incredibly novel and new to the tradition that, you know, it's not a deep representation of astrology, and prediction is inherently a component of what astrology is based on. So sun sign columns are not as resonant to the idea of astrology when they cannot be as predictive as more coherent methods of looking at the horoscope. And it's not that pop culture astrology is surface level, and being surface level is pejorative or bad. Like, you guys know me, my Libra moon, like I don't work in good and bad, I work in what is more distorted and less distorted. But I just don't think inherently as dense or as symbolically relevant as looking at what's actually representative of the underlying concepts of astrology, and that is, if you're going to be predicting your future, you need to be predicting it based on the concepts of the rising sign. So if you enjoyed this and you would like to check out my private readings down below, you can check out all the info in the description for my readings, for Rashi, my platform connecting spiritual practitioners with their ideal clients, and for BetterHelp if you're interested in signing up with my link. Would love to help you out in all those ways. So otherwise, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment down below anything that you learned in this video, any thoughts that you have around what's worked for your horoscope. I would love to hear it. Sending so much love, and I will see you in the next one.